Welcome back, everyone. We're Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the Daily Fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, and the websites by plebs. Joining us today, fellow Bitcoiner, and also the CEO, I'd say, of Cloaks. We'll give him the grand Pumbaa CEO of Cloaks. We are talking about Rick. All right, we're diving into the numbers as soon as we get this sorted out. Let's go.
Number time! Number time is brought to you by Bitcoin 2022. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin conference ever. Nayib Bukele just announced he's going to make another special announcement. You're not going to want to miss it. And you can take advantage of the link down below in the link description for 10% off your tickets to Bitcoin 2022.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 718,542. The Bitcoin price, 42,835. Chain rewrite days, 724. Total public lightning capacity holding steady, 3,331.49. Moscow time, 23:35. Blocks to the halvening, 121,458. The numbers.
The numbers. And
the numbers.
Look at that. The block height made another all-time high. That is what is actually important. If the block height did not make an all-time high from the day before, we would be in very, very, very big problems. But anyway, something very interesting happened. And statistically, this is literally almost impossible. So you have a higher probability of getting struck by lightning. And the fact that this happened twice this week tells me that there's something more to this story. But anyways, let me pull it up so you guys know what I'm talking about.
This is a different one?
A different one in the same week. So check this out. 1 in a billion. Second tiny miner solves a block. Remember we covered earlier on the week how a single miner with 126 terahashes, which is literally, it could be one overclocked S19, or it could be a couple S9s. It's really not that much. Anyways. Well, on Monday, a tiny miner successfully solved a block with a modest hash rate capacity of 126 terahashes per second. The odds of this happening were 1 in 1,400,000. Okay, those are odds. Those are crazy odds, but at the same time, they're not that, they're still crazy. Anyways, according to a Thursday tweet from solo admin Colivas, another miner from the same pool, was able to solve a block with a capacity of only 116 terahashes, even less than the first miner. That's likely to just be 1 to 3 mining rigs, depending on the equipment used. He suggested that the odds of such a small miner succeeding once was 1 in a million. So 2 successes is just a few days apart. Would be at least 1 in 1 billion. What the fuck is going on? Okay, that something fishy is happening there. That one miner, I was already, everyone was celebrating, oh, that guy got so lucky, this and this and that, but I'm telling you, like, something might be happening behind the scenes, and it's suspicious because it comes from the same mining pool. And just to give you guys a kind of a fiat dollar amount of how much that block reward was, right? Let me do the math real quick. 6.25. That's $262,000. That $10,000 in equipment, $10,000 or less in mining equipment gave.
It's a pretty good return.
Really good.
So do you guys believe? I don't know. Listen, that one time it could happen. Statistically speaking, over a long period of time, everything is possible. But the fact that it happened in the same week, from the same mining pool, from very low hash rate, makes me awfully suspicious. I think something is going on in the background. What do you guys think?
I'd go 1 in a million. That's doable. I could see that happen. But 1 in a billion, I don't know. That's a tough one. I was all excited too on the 1 in a million hit. When that first one, I was like, hell yeah. I kind of went down the road. I was like, maybe I should switch one and just solo mine for the shits and gigs like everybody else.
That's
like
a terrible idea.
It's a terrible idea. I know. But I mean, like, I don't know. the second one hit a day later, I was kind of like, okay, how is that possible? And how do you even figure that shit out? How do you know if anything's going on in the background? Like, what would it even be, Nick?
Yeah, to Rick's point, right? I don't know enough about mining, and that's exactly it. Like, what could they be doing, right? What could they be doing for that to happen? I mean, obviously, if they are doing something, it's working because they found two blocks.
So it's coming from the same mining pool, right? So that makes me suspicious of whether that mining pool is not being completely honest about perhaps that only just that amount of, hash rate coming from those specific miners. The fact that those two statistical abnormalities happen from the same mining pool makes me awfully suspicious. I was already suspicious when the first thing happened, but I was like, okay, maybe, right? Listen, over a long period of time, you roll the dice, eventually you're going to get lucky. That's just how it is, right? It's extremely improbable, but the fact that it happened in the same week, 2 days apart, with even less hash rate, makes me wonder there is something fishy going on. I don't quite believe what we're being sold. But anyway,
the question is, what would you gain from it, though? What would you gain about saying solo mining is hitting?
Subscribe to this mining pool. Subscribe to this mining pool because it's awfully lucky, It's subscribe to this mining pool. I don't know, dude. Maybe
it is a marketing ploy.
That's a pretty good marketing ploy because everybody's like, well, fuck it. CK hit twice. I'm going to CK.
Yeah, I have no idea, but I thought you guys would find it interesting. And if it is luck, holy crap. That's like winning the lottery 3 times in a row, basically. 1 in a billion. You have a higher probability of getting eaten by a shark and getting struck by lightning and pooping yourself at the same time. Just
pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good odds.
Yeah. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, Phil?
Is that scientifically based? We did the research?
It's the internet, so we could say that it is. Anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Fail.
The Daily Fail is brought to you by Amber App. Check them out, amber.app. It is the best way to stack sats. You can buy the Schiff, which means you can stack sats every time Peter Schiff puts out a ridiculous tweet. The link is down below. This is always my favorite part of the show. You know why? Because I don't stop believing, and neither does Yellow. What? Where'd he go?
Wait, Rick.
Come on.
Rick, is he behind you?
He's right there.
No.
What are you doing on that printer, bud?
Craig is a potato.
All right. Taking a break from the shitcoin fails and the rug pulls, but still a shitcoin. Still a rug pull in a way, right? It's a rug pull of our lives. Anyways, let's dive into it. This is a tweet from Elizabeth Warren. Huge grocery store chains like Kroger have made billions by jacking up consumer prices, and they're using those profits to reward executives instead of raising wages so workers can make ends meet. I stand with Kroger workers in their fight for a fair contract. This narrative, right? This narrative about the greedy corporations, right? That are taking everything they can from the population. It's very interesting. And you got to keep in mind, this narrative is very powerful. And I can tell you that when I was much younger, this narrative got me. I believed it. I believed this type of stuff. Look, I used to think Walmart was an evil corporation. I used to have arguments about this. Anyways, keep in mind, right? She's having us believe, okay, that it's the supermarkets like Kroger, okay, that are making billions, raising their prices. Okay, that got me to do a little thinking. Kroger's is food. Well, let's go take a look at what's happened to the food in the last year. Maybe Kroger's is just trying to keep up with their rising costs. Maybe it's not the evil corporations. Maybe there's something else much more nefarious that's being hidden that they're trying to keep everybody's attention away from. So let's start off with the U.S. inflation rates, right?
Oh, wait. Scroll up.
Okay,
it's worse than 7.
I know.
Oh, no. I thought it said 7 point something. Never mind. I'm like, oh my God, things are falling apart so fast.
Yeah, no.
I mean, just look at that graph. Things are falling apart really fast. This is disgusting.
This is 2021. So keep in mind, right? So, right, but it's the greedy businesses. But look, inflation, right? Haven't seen these numbers in at least 10 years. Okay.
No,
moving on.
40
years to be more specific. There you go. Thank you. So check this out. So now we start to take a look at farmers, right? Because obviously farmers are the people that have to create all of this food and everything like that, right? They are the raw producers. They have raw materials. Well, let's take a look. This is an article from 2021. This is actually December, right? Last month. Used equipment prices continue to surge. Used tractor prices up 27%. Surge may continue into May 2022. But wait, we're not done. Take a look at this. This is from just a couple of days ago. Food costs likely to rise as farmers' expenses shoot up. I want to say this loud and clear right now that we risk a very low crop in the next harvest. Sven Tor Holshether, the CEO and president of fertilizer giant Yara International, warned in November, I'm afraid we're going to have a food crisis.
Which is exactly what Texas Slim said himself when he came on the show.
Bingo.
Part of the Texas Food Initiative.
You know, we've been talking about these types of inevitabilities for months, right? So let's move on. Okay, this is November 11th, 2021. Farmers face rising fertilizer prices and supply constraints. Okay, so this was right there, you're looking at 2 months ago, 3 months ago. This is all inevitable. And this is a piece I'm sure that no one's really paying attention to. Okay, this is from February 12th, 2021. Okay, U.S. farmland prices are rising with the commodity revenues. So all of this noise, right? It's the greedy corporations. Don't forget about greedy Kroger. Okay, all of this noise is here to hide one thing and one thing only. They don't want us to pay attention to this. They don't want us to pay attention to the money supply. Okay? They've run completely out. They've run completely out of ammo. There is absolutely nothing left. And when I saw that tweet from Senator Warren, I said, you know what? As much as I want to believe that the corporations are the root cause of this issue, I know that the money is broken. We know the money is broken. We know that faith is eroding in the US dollar. Okay? Not just the US dollar, but all fiat currencies. So this is not a corporate problem. They are politicians like Senator Warren are going to try to get us to blame corporations. And believe me, when we sound nuts right now, but you're going to see price fixing is around the corner. I'll be happily surprised, right? We'd love to be wrong about this. Man, it'd be great. If we're wrong, then it's fantastic. Then it's not as bad as we think, and life can get better sooner. But I personally think we're on the path of price fixing.
No, and I completely agree, man. You saw The Guardian, which is a mainstream legacy media, already essentially hinting to its strategic price controls, to quote them exactly, right? And essentially what governments are doing is that they're trying to distract you from the fact that they are the ones that cause the prices to go up with the uncontrollable amount of money printing. Now, if you look back on human history really doesn't change much. It often repeats itself. Back in the Roman times, right, when they also experienced inflation because they debased the currency, right? You know who they blamed? They blamed the Christians back in the 1920s and the 1930s and Weimar Republic Germany, right? Who were the scapegoats for the whole financial crisis? It was the Jews, right? That led to the election of, some very, very bad people, right? So the point is that governments will never take responsibility for the mess that they have created themselves by printing money to pay for their own self-serving bureaucracies. And what Elizabeth Warren is doing is that she's setting the table. She's incepting people with this idea that it's not us, it's the evil corporations that are trying to raise prices on you guys. And again, we're apolitical on this show, but because the Democrats have complete power right now, they have control of the House, they have control of the Senate, and they have the control of the executive branch, They can't blame their own policies. So what are they going to do? They're going to blame the evil corporations because of the increases in prices. The Biden administration already tried blaming oil and gas. They tried blaming on the food producers, and now you see Elizabeth Warren blaming it on, you know, giant retail chains. And one more thing before I pass it on to Rick. I'm a small business owner. Specifically, I own a small food business, okay? Here's the thing. If I raise my prices too much, people won't buy it. People will just buy it from a competitor of mine, right? So this idea that you could just raise prices because you could raise prices, you know, just to screw over, you know, your customer is BS. People just won't buy from you. They'll buy from your competitor. That is capitalism. That is the free market. So it's exactly what you're saying, Phil. They're preparing us for potential price fixing in the future. It isn't just Phil and I saying this. Mark Moss said this as well, right? And if you already see articles from the mainstream media, they're also preparing you with this language of strategic price fixing, which never works, by the way. Anyways, Rick, what are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I have to agree with everything you guys said. I mean, when you see tweets like that from politicians, it's just absolutely disgusting. I actually had my blood boil when I looked at that, because I've tried to cut out all that bullshit, because it really does bother me in the long run. It like starts fucking with my mentality. But you see stupid shit like that, and you're like, no, stop feeding the Americans like bullshit, like articles and stuff, and just tweets. Tell them what's actually happened. You keep printing fucking money. You're the cause of the issue. Man the fuck up and try to fix it. The problem is they won't ever be able to fix it, because they either print more and inflation just goes higher, we get priced out, or they cut it off completely, raise rates, and the whole fucking economy gets destroyed. We're in a lose-lose situation. And I'm not an economist whatsoever, but I can see around what's happening, and it just pisses me off. And as a small business owner, inflation is fucking killing me. Like I never wanted to get rid of free shipping on any fucking order at Crypto Cloaks, and I had to this year for the first time because prices were so damn high. Shipping alone went up like 20% overall. Yep. It was stupid. And so, this shit bothers me a lot.
And this isn't because of small businesses.
No.
This isn't because of big corporations. This is because of the government themselves and their unchecked money printing. Anyways, Phil?
Before we go on, I just want to wrap up. Okay, the article. See, look at this. We didn't even actually look at the article that she tweeted about. Okay, and most people, right? Most people aren't going to. They're going to read that headline and they're going to say, "Damn those greedy corporations." I read through the article. Nowhere is executive compensation even mentioned. Okay,
just made up some shit.
She's just created this narrative where she's decided that the greedy executives, that this is their like. And it's so sad because, of course, if you want to believe it, you're going to believe it. You're going to say, yeah, that's right. That's the reason why I'm stuck in this crap. Anyways, sorry.
The excuses are getting more desperate. The lies are just being more blatant. At this point, they know they're lying. We know they're lying. They're lying anywhere. The inflation is hitting every aspect of society. It's absolutely crazy. The reason we talk about this is because there's a better system, and that system is Bitcoin. And if you're denominating Bitcoin, you could just sit back, relax, and watch the fireworks. Anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Meme Review. The Daily Meme Review is brought to you by Citadel 21. It's the best Bitcoin cultural zine. It's articles, stories, comics written by toxic, savage Bitcoiners. But be quick. Get your copy now because there's only 1,000 copies made per volume. Get your print of Citadel 21 today. All right, everybody. The first meme is brought to you by a friend of the show and podcaster of the Bitcoin Matrix podcast. It is Cedric Youngelman. Check it out. Inflation, the thing that we cannot, the virus. Let's just say the virus. And this just kind of just relates to what Phil just covered during the Daily Fail. Like Elizabeth Warren's like, yeah, no, it's them. In reality, there's the giant tidal wave of inflation. Super accurate. This is hilarious. Serious question. What is the metaverse? This is the metaverse. You'll own nothing and be happy. No, that's me, by the way, under a bridge. No. I don't have a green screen, so that's not me. Anyways, moving on to the next one. It's by the Ghost of Stony. It is tough out there Damn. Woke parasitic bullshit. Twitter, 99% of the world. Pleb account. Absolutely hilarious. Zero hedge. Always buy the dip, you fucking idiots. Buy the Federal Reserve. And this one by BTC, new trader, experienced trader, kickflip, and then right to the face. Absolutely hilarious. Don't trade, DCA. Next meme, for those that only read things in meme format, I just took out a loan and went all in Bitcoin. You're stupid. How will you pay for living expenses? I put it all on a 0% APR credit card. Idiot, what will you do if you lose your job? Fuck my wife and buy more Bitcoin. Highly accurate. Last one by RD, the legendary RD, 5% pay raise, 7% inflation. That's the best one. Awesome memes. And for that, I'm going to give it a fortune cookie. And I'm going to open the fortune cookie. And I'm going to read you what it says.
Snap.
Greg is a potato? Anyways, Phil, what would you give those memes?
An accurate fortune. I like it. All right. Definitely great memes. Got some great laughs out of that. And guess what? For that, all right, in respect to our guest, I am giving this a chug of maple syrup.
There we go.
Ooh, that's when you know he's really Canadian. Anyways,
Dark grade.
Rick, what would you give those memes?
They're actually really good. I laughed a lot. So I'm going to give it this water-cooled raspberry pie 4.
What? Dude, that is such overkill, dude.
You gotta send me the link to the water cooler.
Because you don't fuck around on Bitcoin nodes. That's why.
No, you don't fuck around. You want that extra cooled, super freaking cool. Air cooling is not enough. You want water cooling. You want to take it to the next level. Anyways, guys, we want to know, do you agree with our scores? No, of course you agree with our freaking scores. Fortune cookie, water cooled, and Phil drinking maple syrup. How could you disagree with that? But anyways, let us know down in the comments. Comment. It helps the algorithm. Help us beat the shitcoin channels. Like, comment. You guys know the drill. And of course, subscribe to us on alternative video platforms because, you know, we say things that piss off central banks, people in high places, like Rumble.com and our personal favorite, BitcoinTV.com. And of course, join our Telegram group. Link us some Bitcoin memes to review because the Bitcoin meme review, when we get the memes from you, the Bitcoin plebs, so that we can review them because of Bitcoin meme review. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily News. The Daily News is brought to you by CryptoCloaks.com. They make the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch, like the 3D printed Bitcoin Freedom Grenade. Look, it unscrews, you can put your favorite hardware wallet. Also comes in custom colors, I might add. And of course, the legendary 3D printed Bitcoin Honey Badger comes in 3 sizes. And you can also open it up, put your favorite hardware wallet or other stuff. Anyways, you can take advantage of the link down below for 5% off CryptoCloaks.com. I thought I would never see this ever, okay? Literally a sitting representative came out with a bill. I don't know if it's going to pass. Specifically to prohibit the Fed from issuing a central bank digital currency directly to individuals. And here's why it matters. Let's go through this. This is absolutely insane. So in China, they're going full central bank digital currencies. In the US, which is exactly what Naval predicted, and the book and the foreword in the book The Sovereign Individual by Peter Thiel, right? It looks like the West, specifically the United States, because we love our freedom here. The First and Second Amendment, baby. Where it looks like we're going through the sovereign right, the sovereign route, the route of a decentralized cryptocurrency, the only one which is Bitcoin. But anyways, let's read some of what he has to say and what his reasons are for it. I haven't read this yet, by the way. As other countries like China develop central bank digital currencies that fundamentally omit the benefits and protections of cash, it is more important than ever. Wow, this is literally what I just said. Than ever to ensure the United States digital currency policy protects financial privacy, maintains the dollar's dominance, and cultivates innovations. Central bank digital currencies that fail to adhere to these 3 basic principles could enable an entity like the Federal Reserve to mobilize itself into a retail bank, collect personally identifiable information on users and track their transactions indefinitely. I'm going to add a little thing in there, which could enable governments to put in social credit systems. Anyways, I put that in there. Not only does a central bank digital currency model raise a single point of failure issues, leaving Americans' financial information vulnerable to attack, but it could be used as a surveillance tool that social credit system. Americans should never be forced to tolerate from their own government. Requiring users to open an account at the Fed to access a United States central bank digital currency would put the Fed in an insidious path akin to China's digital authoritarianism. I really like this representative. Any central bank digital currency implemented by the Fed must be open, permissionless, and private. Not going to be possible if it's issued by the Fed. Only Bitcoin. Bitcoin has rules without rulers, which is the most American thing, I might add. Anyways, this means that any digital dollar must be accessible to all, transact on a blockchain that is transparent to all, and maintain the privacy elements of cash. In order to maintain the dollar status as the world's reserve currency in a digital age, it is important that the United States lead with a posture that prioritizes innovation and does not aim to compete with the private sector. Simply put, we must prioritize blockchain. Bitcoin's really the only blockchain that matters, but anyways, close enough. Blockchain technology with American characteristics, Bitcoin. What other blockchain has American characteristics other than Bitcoin? Rather than mimic China's digital authoritarianism out of fear. Very, very well put by that representative. I'm going to give him the credit where credit is due. His name is Tom Emmer. Shout out Tom Emmer. I wish you mentioned Bitcoin by name, and I hate that you said the private sector. Bitcoin is more public and transparent than the currency currently, the dollar issued by the Fed, which is opaque, right? We know Bitcoin is an open ledger, but dude, this makes me so bullish, right? It looks like Bitcoin's incentives are capturing enough influence in Congress. We have Senator Toomey, we have Senator Lummis, right? We have a bunch of other senators, Senator Wyden as well, so it's bipartisan. Bitcoin's incentive Ted Cruz have captured enough influence in the House and in the Senate for these types of bills to start popping up. This is tremendously bullish, and if the United States takes the route of freedom, individualism, and sovereignty for all, rather than the totalitarian top-down approach that China is taking with their central bank digital currencies, I have no doubt in my mind that the United States will stay on top and China will be left behind in the dust. And to quote the great Jack Mallers, open systems always be closed systems. Specifically, an open system that cannot be debased, cannot be confiscated, and is all-inclusive for everyone on planet Earth. Phil?
I think I'm going to give a different spin on that, because I read that yesterday, and I know it sounds like he's standing up for the average person, but at the same time, I also know, or I shouldn't say I know, but I've read enough about history that quite often we're watching a show. Right? We're watching something play out, and we're seeing a guy, an actor in this case, right? He comes in and he plays his part, and his part is to play the opposition and to make it seem like, hey, we're giving the little person a shot here. We're making sure that we care about the individual, and I'm showing it, or we are showing it. But the other piece to it is this, right? If you look at the language that he used, right? Talks about the private sector, okay? Talks about how it needs to be open, it needs to have the American values, all of this stuff. So this is the thing. Anything that we create is going to be a closed currency at this point. If the government is going to issue a CBDC of any type, it doesn't matter. It already loses immediately because it's centrally issued, centrally controlled, and it doesn't have any of the proper characteristics of Bitcoin. And I think that the disingenuous language, like you mentioned, right, about the private sector, I think that's the kind of stuff that confuses people, right? Because they read it and they think, oh yeah, all these other things are private. If it's issued from the government, it's public. No. It's not how it works, okay? That's not how it works. Bitcoin is truly open. Anybody can go and partake in Bitcoin, okay? This is going to be a CBDC. It's going to be a government-issued currency. It doesn't matter if the blockchain is transparent. They are the key holders. They are the rule makers. Nothing changes. So to me, I just feel like it's, it looks good, but I feel like it's noise.
And what about you, Rick? What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I'm pretty pumped about it, just the wordage in there alone. But then you kind of look back at how all these politicians are trying to hop on the Bitcoin bandwagon to get votes in the next rounds. That's what I see right now is everybody's playing a part. And they're all now playing a game where they're like, holy shit, Bitcoiners have a voice. If I can push anything towards Bitcoin and like be pro Bitcoin or whatever, or blockchain or crypto or whatever, then they can get more votes on their side and get them elected. So in one case you have, man, this is awesome because they're trying to tie in America and Bitcoin and how it's like freedom. But then you also see like down below underneath what they're saying is like, oh, all this other stuff, it's blockchain, it's not Bitcoin, it's like crypto. And you're like, well, so you're just trying to mention Bitcoin on top to like get us all jacked up to vote for you and everything that you're doing in office. So it's a game, man. It's tough because I want to be bullish. Or I want to like read this, be like, fuck yeah, we're making progress. But then you also think in the back end, they're politicians. You can't ever fucking trust them.
Absolutely. You can't trust anybody. And that's the beauty of Bitcoin. It's rules without rulers. You don't have to trust an elite group of people. Now, let's talk about, and I love Phil's points, and I love your points as well, Rick. Let's talk about why government money doesn't work. Government money does not work because it could be corrupted. And inevitably, the government is going to weaponize that money to essentially attack populations, countries, regimes that it doesn't necessarily agree with, which is why any centralized currency is doomed to fail. And we're already seeing countries, regimes, whatever you want to call it, opting out of the dollar hegemony. And the reason they're opting out of it is because the United States has weaponized the dollar to go after specific regimes. If you have nothing to do with the Iranian government, if you have nothing to do with the Venezuelan government, you cannot open a bank account in certain countries just because of your place of birth. But anyways, those countries are starting to figure out that, hey, wait a second. You don't have to use the dollar the way that you used to. And Iran was one of those countries that have figured it out, one of the first to figure it out. To quote the article, we are finalizing a mechanism for operations of the system. This should provide new opportunities for importers and exporters to use cryptocurrencies in their international deals. Now, because the legacy system is so intertwined with the US dollar, that was impossible because of the U.S. sanctions against Iran. And because these sanctions aren't just towards the government, it's against the entire country. So if you're just an Iranian and you're just trying to do business with the international community, you're not able to do that. And guess what? Iran is waking up. But it's not just me saying this. We have Max Kaiser as well. Right? The U.S. brought this on itself. With the sanctions, countries will now just bypass the USD. About time. Should have done this years ago when I first mentioned it. And how are they doing that? They're doing that with an open currency, which is why I agree with Phil. Even though this has good intentions, it doesn't fix the problem. The problem is that a government, a group of elite people, get to decide who should and who should not use the money. And they get to dictate what the monetary policy of that money is. Something that Bitcoin fixes because Bitcoin is neutral. And if you still don't believe me that the United States weaponizes the dollar, this is an article by Bloomberg, literally titled, How the US Was Weaponized the Dollar. By the way, This building right here, just so you guys, I thought you might find it interesting. That's the Mount Washington Hotel where the original Bretton Woods Agreement was signed. Mm-hmm. Fun fact, really interesting there. Anyways, to read the article, convinced of an existential threat from competitors, America is weaponizing the dollar to preserve its global economic and geopolitical position. While the U.S. accounts for about 20% of the world's economic output, more than half of all global currency reserves and trade in dollars. This is the result of the 1944 Bretton Woods Agreement, the effect of which was enhanced when the link between the dollar and the gold ended in the 1971 Nixon shock, allowing America to control the supply of currency. And by controlling the supply of currency, they control the world. But Bitcoin has given people another alternative that isn't controlled by anyone. Anyways, the article goes on to say, but the real power of the dollar is its relationship with sanctioned programs, which is what I just mentioned. Legislation such as the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, the Trading with the Enemy Act, who gets to decide who's an enemy, and the Patriot Act allow Washington to weaponize payment flows. So, what is the result of this? Listen, some regimes are bad. Some governments are bad. But what happens is that they cast a broad net. Remember when Afghanistan was cut off from the global financial system when the United States pulled out of Afghanistan? Yes, you're definitely disconnecting the Taliban from using dollars, but you're also hurting the millions of people in Afghanistan that are completely innocent. They're just trying to get by their day. You're hurting them as well. If you're from Venezuela, you go to a Western country, you try to open a bank account, guess what? No. You're from Iran, you go to a Western country, you try to open a bank account, guess what? No. You're from another country that the U.S. sanctioned, and you try to open a bank account in the regular traditional financial legacy system, guess what? No, you're out of luck. Think about how fucked up that is. Just because of the place that you were born, you are deemed unbankable. And that is exactly what Bitcoin is for. That's what that senator did not understand in that bill. Even though it started with very good intentions, he's still missing the point. Even if the U.S. wants to be the head of innovation, American characteristics, the problem is the government issuing money themselves. They need to step out of the way, and they just need to let Bitcoin do its thing. Phil?
So now we could tie both of those articles. We could tie both of those stories together, right? So all that like you were just saying, the American ingenuity and everything like that, and the American values. So I'm assuming that this all-inclusive, public ledger is going to also have these kind of caveats and sanctions, and there's going to be certain groups of people that are not going to be able to partake in the financial system, based on, whatever arbitrary set of rules, right? So it's complete hypocrisy. It's just complete hypocrisy. And you know what? It's like we may not agree, right? Like we may not agree with everybody in Iran or anyone, all over the world, right? It's like not everybody's going to agree. That's the fantastic part. Bitcoin is the money of enemies. We don't need to agree. Okay? That is the whole point, is that every single one of us can opt in to using this network and to transfer value. Okay, if a person is going to be, I think this is going to even change the way that we look at crime to a certain extent.
But yeah. Look at the words, the hypocrisy in that statement by that representative, right? American characteristics. What are American characteristics? You're allowed to worship whoever you want. Freedom of speech. You're allowed to say, right? Essentially, whatever's on your mind. And even though the other person might disagree with it, you're entitled to do that as an American anyways. So are they going to try to say, except for money, because at the end of the day, Bitcoin is speech. Money is a form of speech, right? Bitcoin is just text. If you think about it, it's just little code. You're signing files, and that's how a Bitcoin transaction is sent. Are they going to say that because it's a system to transact value, that's different? and the First Amendment does not apply to that? Do you see where I'm going with this, Phil?
Yep.
So, anyways, let's see how this ends up. But anyways, Rick, why don't you tie it up, bro? What are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I mean, they don't want to lose control, right? That's why they never really want to just put Bitcoin as the money supply. That's number one. But as all these other countries are, what is it, like Russia and Saudi Arabia and shit are starting to do side deals and completely cut out the US dollar. And like the US must be losing their mind, right? Because you have all these other countries that are like, hey, we don't need the US dollar anymore. Fuck them. They've been telling us how we can use this money for years, but we don't need them anymore. So it's pretty crazy because the US, everybody that's running it must be just losing their mind to a point where like, how the hell can we get the train back on the tracks? Because it's about to fucking go off.
They had the privilege of having the global reserve currency, and they chose to weaponize it and politicize it and use it to go after political opponents. They had the luxury of doing that. But then as soon as you made it political, guess what? Everyone's going to start looking for alternatives. And guess what? Bitcoin is a much better alternative. But anyways.
I got one more thing.
Yeah.
It kind of ties back to the point of like, it goes back to if you cut down people away from like where they need to just survive, like what are they going to do for food? They don't care about anything else. They're going to fight for their survival and how they can just get food on the table. It literally ties back all the way to the beginning of the episode on that whole thing. If the US is going to weaponize the US dollar and cut out countries, well, those countries are going to be like, well, I still need to eat. So screw you. I'll find other methods. And that's exactly what's happening now. You see it on a grand scheme of, or like a grand scale of things now. And it's awesome to see.
Yep. Absolutely amazing. Amazing to witness and live through this moment of history. We're on the verge of freedom, guys. I feel it. But it's going to be very rocky in the short term before we get there. Anyways, Phil, there was an open source software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. The software releases are brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out, cyphersafe.io. Store your seed in the Cypher wheel, or in this case, the Cypher grid. Check that out. Comes with the punch tool and tamper-resistant wire. The link is down below. We've got Blue Wallet version 6.2.16 that was released. It's down below. Guys, you know the drill. Monday through Saturday, we post rain or shine, video and audio only. Check us out for our audio only on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, that was our show. Before we go, I want to give a very special shout out to a very, very, very good friend of the show. This guy took a risk on us when we were first starting. He was our first sponsor. His name is Rick V3D. He is the president of CryptoCloaks.com. Huge friend. We can't appreciate this guy enough. He believed in us when nobody else did. So definitely head on over to CryptoCloaks. Use the 5% promo code down below. Buy yourself some 3D printed merch, maybe for a family member or something. But anyways, guys, that was our show. If you enjoyed the show, smash that like button. And of course, if you want to continue hearing the catastrophic fails from Elizabeth Warren, governments, nation states, while their fiat printing money power goes away and the Bitcoin used from the plebe perspective, definitely consider subscribing. And we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin.
The hypocrisy, the inflation, the government clown show, it's all running rampant.